Hey guys, how's it going? Today is bike collection day. I'm down here at BMW Motorrad North Oxford. Don't worry, if you're from my car channel, I'm not cheating on Mr. Tony Lewis and Berry BMW. Unfortunately, Berry BMW don't have a Motorrad side, but I'm not going to waste any more time because we've been down here already about 20 minutes doing some paperwork, handing the bike over. I'm very excited about getting on it and riding it home, bringing you lot along for the journey. So let's head inside quickly, have a look at the bike as it sits in the showroom, maybe have a little nose around at some other bikes in there. Thanks to Lou for holding this selfie stick as well, I really appreciate it, and dropping me down here, and everything else that she does, because I love her, and now she's cringing behind the camera. Right then, let's head inside. It's really busy because it's a Saturday and the sun's out. It's great to see. Oh, look at that. S1000RR. I mean, there's loads of bikes, loads of shapes and sizes. Rode one of those in Spain a couple of weeks ago. Really great little bike. There she is. That is my brand new F900 GS in Sao Paulo yellow. Pretty much every option ticked that you can imagine. Comes standard with the Aqua exhaust. I've got the Enduro Pro kit, so I've got these Showa forks. I'm a bit lost for words because I'm so excited about going out on it. Michelin very kindly sent me out some Anarchy roads for it. They do a range of Anarchy tyres for this style of bike, for the adventure bike, which I will show you at a later date. I've got a number of other accessories that I'm going to bolt on, like the higher screen for taller people like me. I'm actually going to go for the slightly higher seat as well, which I've got on order. I love the bike world. It's very cool. There is an R1300 GS. Now, I actually almost bought one of them or financed one of them last year. This one's got all the very fancy 719 option parts on it, but I couldn't get insurance for it. And that kind of is part of the reason that I went for the 900 over anything that was 1000cc or 1250 or 1300. You join me about 15 minutes later. I could have gone black, or I could have gone for their M colours, the white, red and blue. I decided to go with the Sao Paulo yellow just because it stands out, and I just love the way it all comes together. The Showa forks look so good. They feel incredible, but more about them once we get it on the road. Well, I feel a little bit emotional actually, and I feel more excited about this than any car collection. Sorry, Tony. I think because it's all so new. I'm so happy, I'm so pleased. Look at it, stunning, absolutely stunning. I've actually mounted my quad lock phone mount on the handlebar there. If you haven't got one of these, honestly guys, get one. I've got a suction mount for the windscreen in the car and a handlebar mount for the motorbike. I'm not paid by them, and they're Australian. Mum's Australian, so it's nice to support an Australian brand, a very successful Australian brand. I know they sponsor people like Oscar Piastri in the F1 and Johann Zarco in the MotoGP. Same display that I had on the R1250 GS a couple of years ago. I just love it. Such a clear, precise display. Let's get this connected to my helmet and keep my fingers crossed that the mic works and get this actually out on the road. It's keyless as well, this one. I actually have a USB port in there so I can run a cable out and into my phone. Again, referring to a car, this is like your iDrive controller essentially. It's a toggle switch and controls everything. So let's fire it up. There we go. Very nice. Very, very nice. I'm just going to freestyle it on the way home. It says it's 12 degrees out there, although it's been a lovely day. It's definitely feeling a little bit nipply. But what a day so far. I've got to take it easy because this bike has literally done 12 miles, so the brakes aren't bedded in yet. And neither are the brand new tyres. Wait, it hasn't got number plates on it. Oh, there's a trade plate. Mustang Dark Horse. Yeah. I love the fact that this is my bike. It's an 895cc, 2-cylinder, produces 105 horsepower and lots and lots of torque. I really do like this 895 lump. I've tried it in a few BMW's models recently. Little man. And what makes this bike and model appealing to me is just how agile it is for a relatively big adventure bike. Spent a lot of time on that R1250 GS in 2023. Even when I was used to it, it felt quite heavy. It was heavy. This feels noticeably lighter and a bit more chuckable, a bit more agile. I get a lot of opportunities. I go on a load of wonderful trips and I experience a lot of amazing things. And I'm very fortunate to do that. And although I definitely don't take it for granted at all, it does become a bit more normal when I go on these amazing trips. Don't get me wrong, I still absolutely love them. Another new car is awesome and fun, and I love the experience and the handover and sharing it with my audience. The excitement does reduce a bit compared to when I first picked up a new car 13-14 years ago, but this bike is very much like that. It's my bike journey starting all over again. How long am I going to have this bike? I don't know. I purchased this bike outright, and so that gives me the flexibility of basically trading it in anytime I want, selling it privately anytime I want, doing what I want with it. Amongst some of the options, this bike has got cruise control. It's also got heated grips, so I'm going to turn those grips on because it's not that warm out there, and anyone that's ridden a bike will know that your hands kind of feel it first. This little road is a great cut through, but it's a pain in the arse in the car because it's not quite wide enough for two cars. There's massive potholes. Look at the size of those holes. Oh my goodness. And I know about the potholes along here because back in 2021, I think it was, I was borrowing a Volkswagen Golf. I think it was a GTI Club Sport off Volkswagen UK press team and the lovely Nikki. And I was coming up this very bit of road just here, and if you look on the edge of the road here, look at all these holes. They're big, nasty, horrible potholes. I think it was one of those back there, yeah, because I ended up pulling over. No, it's one of these here. Anyway, it was a couple of years ago. I ended up pulling over just here because there was a car coming the other direction really fast, and it was a case of either colliding with the car or getting as far over as possible but hitting these potholes, and instantly the front left tyre deflated. I'm surprised I didn't actually ruin the wheel. I was relieved about that, very relieved. It certainly puts a smile on my face, gives me a real sense of escapism and just freedom. And don't get me wrong, I have lots of freedom. Lou is amazing like that, but it's just nice to get away. Can't wait to get Lou on the back of this bike and go off on a little day trip somewhere. It has a quick shifter, so essentially the only time you use the clutch is when you come to a complete stop like this and you're in first gear, and when you go to pull away like this. Hopefully you enjoyed that collection day video. You now join me 48 hours later. The sun is still shining and I can't actually believe that this bike is mine. I know the mic in the helmet wasn't perfect. In fact, I have a new mic turning up this afternoon that will hopefully resolve some of those issues. I've actually mounted another mount for one of my Osmo action cams, so we'll have a couple of alternative angles. It won't just be point of view. Before signing off, I thought we'd go through the spec on my particular bike, because as with cars, there's a lot of optional extras you can go for, especially on your BMW motorbike on the configurator. But before we do that, I want to say a massive shout out and thanks to Mr. Tim King, who works at BMW UK head office. He's a good friend of mine now, and he's always been a great help with any small issues I've had with my cars over the years. And I know that he's going to be a massive help with the biking side of things. He's also a biker himself. So Tim, thank you. And I look forward to heading out on a ride with you very soon. Right, the spec of one of these. A base F900 GS starts at £11,995. So essentially 12 grand on the nose. Let's go through the options on my particular bike. I built up my own dream spec online, but build to order is a matter of months. And I really wanted to pick my bike up in a matter of weeks. North Oxford BMW Motorrad looked on their system at bikes that were basically about to be built out in Germany. And this was one of those that's extremely close to the ideal spec that I wanted. It came with a couple of options, which we'll go through, that I didn't necessarily want, but we're only talking, thankfully, about a few £100. And I got a small deal, so we'll talk about that at the end as well. The first option to talk about is the Passion livery. Essentially, it's this Sao Paulo yellow paintwork. I don't know if it's paint, might be sticker, but front end and the red trellis rear end. I really like it. It's something different, and that set me back £230. The next option, and most expensive option by a country mile on this bike, is the Enduro Pack Pro. That's set me back £1,630. What do I get for that? Well, we get these beautiful gold, fully adjustable 45mm stanchion Showa forks up front, and we get an upgraded ZF adjustable rear shock. That was really important for me because coming from a mountain bike background, I know that good suspension is a must-have on the road and especially off-road. And if I'm going to be taking this off-road, then I really want the best suspension that is possible for this bike, especially out of the factory. We get these riser bars, so they're a bit higher than the regular F900 GS bars, and an M Endurance chain. Unlike the R1250 GS that I had a couple of years ago, that was shaft driven, so it's all enclosed, essentially away from the elements. This is a more traditional chain driven bike, but apparently this M Endurance chain is much better in terms of maintenance, which is a good thing for me. Talking maintenance, wasn't sure if I mentioned it in the video already, but this is due a run-in service at 600 miles and then its first service after 6,000 miles or 12 months, whichever comes sooner. Then we've got the £495 Dynamic Pro package. Essentially, that gives you 5 different drive modes up here, including a couple of enduro modes, and it gives you gear shift assist. Essentially allows you to change gear with your left foot without using the clutch. The only time you use the clutch on this bike, or the only time you need to use the clutch on this bike, is when you're pulling away from standstill and when you're coming to a stop at, let's say, a set of traffic lights, you pull it in. An option that I didn't necessarily want was the preparation for GPS, which this bike has. That was £205 and was on this bike that was just about to be built, so we couldn't really change that. Although saying that, it has been really useful to mount this second camera. Maybe I could try out BMW's latest sat-nav unit when that becomes available. So it's handy that I've got it on there. The next one is cruise control, £360. Definitely something that I would have optioned myself, and definitely something that is really useful on longer journeys. When I went down to the Alps with that GS back in 2023, if that bike didn't have cruise control, I don't know what I would have done. It was just brilliant. Set it at, 85 miles an hour, the French speed limit, for hours and hours on end, and just meant that my right hand could relax. I didn't need to worry about the speed. The next one is keyless ride at £245. Another option that I wasn't too fussed about. Essentially, it means that you don't need to put the key in anywhere. You just make sure it's in a pocket or somewhere safe and close enough to the bike. The next one is tyre pressure control. Essentially, it's the same as the TPMS systems on our cars. Gives me an idea of how much pressure is in the rear and the front tyre. And I think that's more important on a bike because you're apparently more prone to getting punctures. And if I am on a long journey, or if I'm sitting at, let's say, 70 miles an hour on the motorway, and I think the bike feels a little bit strange, and suddenly I have a warning and I can see visually that I'm getting a slow puncture in one of the tyres, I mean, that in itself makes it worthwhile. So I'd have definitely gone for that. Also, when I'm off-roading, just dropping the pressure of the tyres, etc., or reminding myself to increase them when I get back on the road. I think it's a handy option at £195. And the last option, which I didn't want, and thankfully didn't cost much, was the £50 upgrade for off-road tyres. But as you can see, and as you already know, I've changed those to Michelin's Achilles road tyres. I'm very fortunate that I'm a Michelin UK brand ambassador, and I get access to lots of lovely tyres for my cars, motorbikes, bicycles, and now this has got some Michelin Achilles roads. But when I do decide to take it off-road, hold the line, well, we have Michelin's Achilles Wild tyre here. So it's an aggressive tyre, same fitment, designed for adventure bikes. Also still designed to work on the road, but obviously it's a compromise. If you go more off-road, then they're not as good on the road. If you go more on-road, then they're not as good off the road. Just the same with car tyres, really. So I will experiment with these tyres at some point this summer, and I'm very much looking forward to it. But at the moment, I'm running the Achilles road tyre. As you can see, it's grooved for repelling water. It's also nice and slick to give you plenty of grip and a good contact patch. And all those options bringing this bike's on the road retail price up to £15,400, which is an awful lot of money for a motorbike, but not an awful lot of money for a BMW motorbike. In fact, you can spend well over 20 grand on their adventure bikes and well over 30 grand on some of their sports bikes. I managed to secure about £1,400 off this bike because it was the end of their first quarter and they wanted to get their figures up. So I paid pretty much bang on 14 grand for this F900 GS. Please remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Leave any comments, questions, ideas, etc. below. And I'll see you at another video very, very soon. Cheers.